G'day friends, my name is James, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to be swatching out my watercolor palette. I have just switched around most of the colors in this palette. I want to give you a good look at what I'll be using in this upcoming season. I tend to switch out watercolors every now and again. If I get a new half pan, I like to switch it out and try it in this setup, and then every so often I'll just get a mood to switch everything around. And so I kind of think of these as seasonal palettes. There are no rules about how I put them together. It is usually just my favorite colors or my favorite watercolors with my favorite effects in that moment, however I'm feeling. So it's pretty mood based. I'm going to set up a page of swatches for you. I'm also going to talk you through each color that I swatch, and it's going to be pretty relaxed. So here we go. I'm using the Edith Landgraf Sketchbook Essential stamp set to create one of two swatching pages today. I'll link her YouTube channel below. I'll also put a link to this stamp set. It is currently sold out, but I'm not sure, it may come back. And this is just to set up 42 spaces for me to be able to swatch each of the colors in my palette today. I stamped all of these images out with the VersaFine black ink so that it would be waterproof and my swatches wouldn't disturb any of the stamped images. I counted it about 600 times to make sure I had the right amount of swatches, and then just decided to section off 3 of those little watercolor pans so I could swatch out the last remaining colors without having to start a new page. The first 6 swatches you're seeing are a mini set by Pocket Pup Creations. This is a fluorescent rainbow, and I don't have the individual shade names here, but I will list any of the brands and the names that I can find in the description box below just in case you would like to go searching for those as well. And I just really like to have a fluorescent set handy. This is MUNGYO and it is number 811. These colors also have names, but just for the MUNGYO, I'm going to give you the actual number because the name sometimes changes. It's more of a pinky red, and this is Daniel Smith's PYRROL Scarlet, which is a bit more of an orangey red. The next one is MUNGYO 809, which is also an orangey red, but this one tends to be a bit flatter than the PYRROL Scarlet, but they are very, very similar shades. MUNGYO 805 is a nice in-between orange shade, and the HANSA Yellow Medium by Daniel Smith is also a more warm yellow and errs on the side of light orange than it does a bright yellow. I prefer a bit more of an orangey yellow than a bright lemon yellow. This is GEKKOSO TYRIAN Rose. It is the brightest and clearest bright pink that I have ever used in watercolor, and this is Famous by Lost Girl Watercolor, another bright pink with lots of sparkle in it. Shell Pink by HOLBEIN is a really nice bright baby pink. Some baby pinks I've used in the past tend to be a bit more dull. This is a nice clear bright color. It is also quite opaque. And the next color is Buff Titanium, which is a nice neutral shade I like to start a lot of my skin tones with. PHTHALO Green Yellow shade by Daniel Smith is a nice bright green option in my palette, and the MUNGYO 836 is more of a yellow green, a bit more lime colored grass green. Cobalt Teal Blue by Daniel Smith is really, really granulating and a very beautiful teal color. The Sugared Peeps by Designs by BETH is a nice baby blue and is very opaque. And KYANITE Genuine by Daniel Smith is a really nice mineral blue. It's a bit darker and very granulating. It has a bit of a sparkle to it as well. This is MUNGYO 818, a very, very bright blue that makes me think of the waters in Capri. And this is Vintage Orange by Hungry for Paint. It's a little bit more brown than orange, but I really love how those colors granulate. Aussie Red Gold by Daniel Smith, a really nice kind of red orangey yellow. And Naples Yellow by Daniel Smith, a really nice tan color. MUNGYO 843 is a bit of a subtle olive green. It does dry down a lot lighter than it goes on wet. And then Undersea Green by Daniel Smith has a really nice split pigment mix that just separates really beautifully and is very interesting. Black Widow, Designs by BETH, is like a very metallic black, almost like a graphite grey color that is very deep. And Vintage Sage by Hungry for Paint is just a really beautiful light and opaque green sage color. Bold Mountain by Hungry for Paint is a very deep, stormy blue-green that has a bit of a black separation to it. And To the Moon by Lost Girl Watercolor is kind of like the purple version or the mauve version of Bold Mountain. Lots of nice separating colors that are very metallic. This stunning watercolor is Oracle by HYDRACOLOUR, and it is an iridescent, clear watercolor that is great to put on top of things to make them look a lot more magical. The shift is blue-purple, and this is Sun Gold, and I don't have the brand of this, but it is a beautiful glitter topper, also clear with a nice sparkly yellow gold glitter. Daniel Smith's Sepia is a new color I've added to my palette. It is a deep, rich brown that granulates a little bit, and it is just a gorgeous brown that keeps a lot of its strength as it dries down, unlike a lot of the other deep browns I've used in the past. Vintage Rose by Hungry for Paint is a really nice blush color. It's opaque, and it is a little bit more on the mauve side than pink. Daniel Smith's Wisteria is a nice light red purple, and Daniel Smith's Lavender is its blue purple counterpart. The MUNGYO 817 is also a red purple. It is a lot more intense than the Wisteria. And the MUNGYO 816 is another blue purple and is just a lot more intense than the Lavender. I seem to be in a bit of a purple phase this season. Rose Gold is a handmade metallic watercolor that is very intense, very opaque. It is by PTP or Paddy Tolly Parish. Daniel Smith's Moonglow, being one of the first Daniel Smith watercolors I ever used, tends to make its way in every season, and here it is again. I like to pair that with the Payne's Blue Grey for most of the time I'm doing anything that is at night, or I just want a really deep blue-purple mix. They're beautiful to add together. The Payne's Blue Grey is also by Daniel Smith. It's just a smoky, kind of grey blue that isn't as intense blue as an indigo. And this is Galaxy Black, a very granulating black that I don't actually know the brand of. So here we're going to set up for another page of swatching and see all of these colors in action. I think you heard me mention early in the video that I don't have any rules when I put these palettes together, and I just want to touch on that even further. This palette is a pure indulgence for me. These colors are just the ones that made my eyes happy when I looked at them, that I was excited to receive in the mail, that didn't function like the other watercolors that I've used before. And you know, some of those have all those attributes, some of them have none of the attributes, some are only in there because I noticed that every time I would be painting something, I would go to reach for a color that I didn't have, and it was usually a really deep brown that actually kept its value when it dried down. I was always having to glaze brown on top of brown to get a really nice rich brown, so that's why I put the sepia in there. I then also realized I never had an orange, and that the yellow I had I rarely liked to use. I would always try and tint it to make it a bit more orange, so that's why I chose a warmer yellow by Daniel Smith. So a lot of those things were just put in there out of necessity as well, but it's all relative. It's all relative to where I'm at right now and what I'm doing right now and what I feel like I want to be doing in the next couple of months. Do I even think that far into the future? No, not at all. Like I said, it's a pure indulgence on my part. If it makes my hands and my eyes happy to use and see the watercolor, it's going in this palette. And 42 colors, including those little pocket neon colors there, that's a lot of color. That's a lot of choice you can get in there. Most people, I think, when they set up watercolor palettes are going very logically, and I do really appreciate that. Of course, I do have some mixing palettes, some warm primaries, some cool primaries. I have my printer primaries. I like to have those available as well, mostly for travel or if I just want to downsize the clutter on my desk. But this is really an indulgence palette for me. It's just everything that I feel like I want to be playing with in one place. Some of the colours that have lasted through many iterations of this intuitively chosen palette are the Daniel Smith Moonglow and KYANITE Genuine. They were the first watercolors I ever bought tubes of, and I still have the KYANITE Genuine tube. The Moonglow has since very much run out, and I love those two colors just because they hold a bit of a sentimental place for me with my journey through art journaling and through learning to love watercolor, and it was just a really interesting time in my life then, so for some reason I've really attached a personal meaning to those colors. I really love to use them with orange pencil. The KYANITE Genuine with an orange pencil just does things to me that I don't think are normal, and I really love that for me. Moonglow is a split pigment, so it's a multiple pigment mix. It's a convenience mix, essentially. Like a lot of these colors in here are convenience mixes. You could try and mix them together with other colors that are the same pigments, just, you know, all in individual pans. I'm not someone that loves mixing a lot, so I do tend to pick a lot of convenience mix colors, and the Moonglow is just really fun to add a lot of water to and to watch all those colors separate. The GEKKOSO TYRIAN Rose, ever since I went to Japan in 2019, has been a staple for me. It is the brightest and clearest pink I have ever used. But one of the things that I think is so fun about it is that something in its makeup makes it very aggressive with other watercolors, and it will push all of the other watercolor out of the way. So I tend to work a lot of loose, expressive watercolor paintings and put a lot of pigment in there, a lot of water and everything, and to put that GEKKOSO TYRIAN Rose on there and watch it just spread everything around is just always a really fun kind of magical part of the process. So I've really loved having that in my palette. A few colors I'm really excited to continue to play with and get better acquainted with in this palette are the Black Widow, designs by BETH. It has this liquid graphite look to it, and it's very metallic. I did not have much of a need for it when I first got that color in a Halloween set, but now I'm really excited, and I think that's really interesting how just your eye changes over time, and I think it actually has a lot to do with how much I fell in love with using graphite pencils and blending stumps, because that happened after I got that, and because that watercolor to me looks like graphite, I think since I had fallen in love with that, now it seems to be something I'm more attracted to. So I think it's really interesting how our intuition and our kind of choices change as we grow, and that's why I like to call these a seasonal palette, because you know, there are things that I just love that don't make sense to be in here right now, and there are things that I'm more curious about that make 100% sense to be in here right now. I'm always trying to lean into that curiosity and chase down those creative frenzies. Some more colors, they're all kind of clustered together. That Vintage Sage, Hungry for Paint, so gorgeous. I only ever use minty colors when I go light green, so I'm really happy that there's a sage color that I can kind of experiment with. And Bald Mountain, also by Hungry for Paint, just has such an incredible look to it. When you add a lot of the pigment and a lot of water to it, you get a lot of granulation, and it's almost like a dark, smoky teal with like hints of tan in it. It's really bizarre. And To the Moon, Losco watercolor, very metallic. It's got like it's like a mauve base, like a brownie mauve with green shift to it, like a yellow-green iridescent shift. Like, talk about an interesting mix. There, you can see them on that little swatch there. And there you go, my current watercolor palette setup. I absolutely love it. I'm so excited to continue to play with it. I've already had a blast testing out all the colors and enjoying just putting this swatch page together for you. I want to just remind you that I'll put any of the names and brands in the description box below that I have access to. Good luck in trying to find some of those. If you are going to find them, the GEKKOSO is almost impossible to get your hands on unless you know someone in Japan who can go to the store for you. The handmade watercolors, also as incredible as they are, do tend to sell out very quickly and are only made in small batches. So that's just my bit of advice for those who have their wallets out and are ready to run to the shops. Otherwise, this has been my complete setup and swatch video. I hope you enjoyed it. Here's a just quick shot of all the names. Just screenshot that if you really need it. Otherwise, they'll be in the description box below. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I hope you enjoyed seeing my palette setup. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.